When it comes to metabolic troubles, the focus is always on insulin production. We're trying to get cells to respond to the insulin. Specifically, we want them to open the glucose gates so that the sugar molecules can be cleared from the blood. But they resist. We call it insulin resistance. And it is the biochemical problem that underpins metabolic syndrome. People with insulin resistance are not short of insulin. They're swimming in the stuff. And too much insulin is responsible for many of the health problems associated with metabolic syndrome. So, why are they swimming in insulin? Well, maybe it's a plumbing problem. Join us for this episode of Better Body Chemistry TV as we explore how insulin clearance, or lack of it, contributes to metabolic troubles. Better Body Chemistry TV is brought to you by Dr. Sandy, a scientist turned gremlin buster, helping you battle sugar gremlins, heifer lumps, and other health horribles through better body chemistry. Remember, small things can make a big difference to your health. Maybe this has happened to you. You've come around the corner to find dirty, smelly water oozing out. The drain is blocked. Now, if you can calm down sufficiently to analyze the situation, the problem is not as a result of too much water. An obstruction in the pipe is causing the water to not leave. So it starts to accumulate and you end up with a plumbing disaster. Could this be what happens in hyperinsulinemia? Mindful of the connection between too much insulin and fatness, a team of German researchers set about studying insulin clearance rates. But rather than start with fat people, they started with skinny guys. Yeah, this is a little unconventional. They chose this approach because they wanted to see what happens before everything gets broken, which is often the state of play when you've turned into an overweight couch potato. 10 healthy, physically active, non-smoking, medication-free, 20-something males with good pedigrees, none of their relatives had metabolic syndrome, signed up to become blobs. They took to eating 300 to 500 extra kilocalories a day, and they were considered successful when they had managed to bump up their BMI by 2 points and keep it there for at least 4 weeks. This saw them go from a BMI of 21.8 plus or minus 0.7 to 23.8 plus or minus 0.8. To be considered overweight, you need to have a BMI of more than 25. To be obese, the figure jumps to more than 30. So these guys were not exactly blobs, even at their heaviest. But their biochemistry had changed, and the extra calories changed their post-meal curves. A little. They were still all 100% normal. But the spike in insulin was marginally higher, while glucose levels remained pretty much the same every time they tested. And they were tested on 3 different occasions in 3 different ways. The first test was to see how they handled a standard meal, marmalade on toast. The second test was 75 grams of glucose dissolved in 300 milliliters of water. This is an oral glucose tolerance test. And the third test was a glucose infusion. The bump in insulin implied a decrease in insulin sensitivity. They had become a little insulin resistant. Using the results from the glucose infusion, the team deduced the extra insulin floating through the system was as a result of the insulin that was being produced hanging around for longer. It wasn't being removed timeously. Removing insulin. Yes, your body is constantly making and breaking stuff. Cells that respond to insulin put him in their trash can once he's delivered his message. But when the pancreas pumps out insulin, thanks to the arrangement of the blood vessel wiring, it first goes to the liver. Now, the liver vets the entry of all chemicals in the body. All. Even though insulin is homemade, it doesn't get a clear pass through passport control. Estimates vary, but somewhere between 50 and 75% of the insulin doesn't make it. It gets destroyed by insulin-degrading enzymes. Now, in our newbie chubbies, this process of removing the insulin was less efficient. This research estimated it was down by around 50%, resulting in more insulin entering the circulation. And more insulin in circulation means, well, more insulin is available to get up to mischief. The liver must be loafing, allowing the drain to be blocked. Time to blame the liver? Maybe not. As with all things biological, it's probably a lot more complicated. It turns out insulin clearance in the liver depends on how much zinc is packaged in the insulin granules, which depends on the activity of a zinc transporter, which depends on your genes and how many yellow vegetables you're eating. The plot thickens. To win the battle, you must rein in insulin. Decreasing insulin production can help, but it might not be enough if the drain is blocked. One way to unblock the drain is by eating your yellows. For more tips and strategies that will help you create better body chemistry and better health, visit our website at www.betterbodychemistry.com. Browse our library or enroll in one of our courses or programs. The advice is simple to follow and based on real science, not hype. Know someone who is short of insulin? Share this video with them so they understand insulin shortages are relative. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you catch future episodes of Better Body Chemistry TV. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember, small things can make a big difference to your health.